meeting to order.
All set.
I just hacked this agenda together this early afternoon, but does anybody have any addition or deletions to the agenda?
Did you send it out, Bob?
I sent it to Joy and said if there was no comment by 1:30, asked her to send it out.
I put it in the Dropbox, but I can bring
Okay,
it
it's
up.
in the Dropbox. You want to take a minute and pull it up, Evelyn? Or, yes.
Oh, there it is. Where's that up?
So we'll review the financial statements, do a motion on or review the expenses. If there's any update on the account realignment, and I can't say the last part. Any auditor updates. So are there any additions or deletions? Okay, if we could proceed, I asked Paul to begin to present the financial statements. And I'll let you know a little bit later why I'd asked him to do that, but he agreed readily. And so happily, I would move on to Paul and ask you to go over the financials for February.
Thank you, Bob. I guess I would start with the bills, if that's all right with everyone. The bills that you have before you are pretty well routine. I don't see anything unusual or out of the ordinary or not routine. Do people have questions on the bills? Where there's the bills? Okay.
Well, I think there's more discussion on the financials. Are you doing the bills first?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, just doing the bills first.
all righty.
The total for this month is 39,232. Again, I don't see anything particularly unusual or anything to point out. Obviously, National Grid bills are a little more because it's the middle of winter.
I was just curious about the Mangione costs. Are they dealing with the main door or other areas of?
That one was on the Lansingburg door.
Okay.
We needed to replace the panic bar on the Lansingburg door and along with the rest of the hardware.
Paul, I updated the bills to reflect the credit card addition, so it's
Yes.
up a little bit on the drop.
Just get the statement for the
Wonderful.
credit card, which is $285 this month. You put the statement in the Dropbox, right, Joy?
Yes, it's in there.
I have a question about that. Okay, so we're saying it's 285.62, but it looks like the full balance is 1,237.
Well, that statement didn't include the credit for paying last month.
Oh, okay.
Last month
Okay.
is still on there.
It didn't. Got it.
But
Thank
the
you.
new charges were $285.
Gotcha.
So Joy, will you be able to get the credit card easily from now on, as you did?
Oh, yes, I forgot to say. I called the credit card people and they're gonna push the date of the bill and the statements ahead to the 28th of the month. That'll give us enough time to get the bill, and present it at the board meeting and get it approved. So they did agree to do that. That won't happen next month. I don't know if we'll have a problem next month. It's gonna take another month before that goes into effect.
Okay. And then I had the old, prior distributed one. So the total expenses that we have this month are 40. Could you read the bottom number, 40,000?
Total expenses were
Bunch of recommendations,
33.
and their way of severity ranking is not necessarily how we would rank them. So
All right, if, could you put it back up, Troy? Because I need the number to 40,101.49.
Oh, Joy, you changed it.
Thank you.
Oh, that's because, I'm sorry, that's because she added the credit card bill. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's all we'll need for the motion for the board.
Yep.
Just, is there consensus within our group or any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Paul, you've not had any success with getting a quote from the other elevator company that had been recommended by Mark?
No, we have not. We haven't really followed through with that. We were kind of staying with Otis for now till we get back to more normal. So we did not get a new quote.
And the fact that there wasn't credit for the last credit card bill of 1,000, does that mean we didn't get it, the payment in time?
I don't know, Joy. I mean, I didn't look at that.
The due date was the 3rd and it didn't get signed, I think, until last week sometime, so.
They have grace days anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I guess it didn't credit it yet, so that's why it's like that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the expenses? And although we don't pass the expenses, we want to make a motion to the board to approve them. So could I have a motion in the finance committee to do that?
I so move.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Evelyn seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Well, thank you. Then, Paul, if you would move on to the financials.
Yeah, if we want to take a look at the income statement. If you could put that up, yeah, there it is. Okay. We had two small payments originally from for the tax levy. So you'll see them there. What you don't see is actually we received a large payment, actually two large payments in March. So that's not reflected in the February statement. But we received about 500,000 for the March payment. So that's a bit changed, or will be. Fundraising, you'll see too here. It's less here because this only reflects the month of January and February. It doesn't reflect last year when we began the campaign. It doesn't reflect December and parts of November. The total is actually yeah, let's see, I had it here somewhere. Yeah, the total is approximately 2,100 so far for fundraising, and with expenses, we netted about 19,000 so far. Okay.
Paul, have you had any communication with the city about any expectations of distribution?
What do you mean? I guess.
Well, we're
It's
$11,000 in the hole because of the budget expectations of money from the city of Troy. I wondered if you had any query them about when we might see money.
No, we saw the large payments right about when we expected them. I haven't talked to the city on it.
We just received the checks, Bob.
Okay.
For about 500,000, which is what would be projected for March.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions on the income part? Moving on to expenses. Under personnel, we're still about 15% less than what is budgeted, particularly on the salary line. So it brings a total about almost 15% less than projected. Down under business administration, the larger printing reflects the fundraising campaign costs. Let's see. Under facilities, I don't know if you still have that here. There is no such thing as contracted services in there. You took that out, right?
It's not there.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, in your copy, in my copy, it's still there. But anyway, so in case you got an earlier copy, that's not actually there.
Paul, yeah, I had a question, Paul. If you pull together the 2 months performance and the year to date, the total variance is 27,000. That's so. When I asked about the question about querying for an idea when the money might flow, you're not concerned about cash flow at this point?
No, not at all. We
Okay.
carried over quite a bit from last year. So we just didn't have a problem with cash flow.
Okay. Grand.
And then moving on to library materials, we have increased spending considerably in that area because we had reduced spending from last year. So we're a bit behind. So we have been busy ordering and processing materials. Yeah, the totals here, of course, early in the year, they don't always make a lot of sense. As Bob pointed out, where you can see at the bottom where 190,081, what 190,081 in the red, based on this particular report, because this report reflects just the year to date.
Right.
And so you will see those things for a while until, actually, you probably won't see it next month because we'll already have the income of 500,000 more. Any questions on the income statement?
I have a couple. I saw that there were bank charges of $221.57. And I was wondering what that was for.
They usually charge us the operating account, and I believe the payroll account gets charged every year, or not every year, every month. There's like a processing charge. I did try to get that taken out a long time ago, but they said that our account, the way it's set up, it gets charged that. And then also there is a charge that goes through there for our credit card.
We're charged for a credit card?
Yes, the register, the cash register that we use, and then when we take,
Okay.
yes,
So not our credit card that we use to charge money on.
correct. Yes, I'm sorry, yes, the one that the patrons use.
And then Lansingburg maintenance. I went back to look at the bills for February. And the bills that I saw that could be make up the Lansingburg charge didn't seem sufficient. So I was wondering what that 2420 was. I have down roofing, that roofing occurred, and also
Well, we did a lot of work. I don't know, Joy, what,
I will have to look. I think, did you,
what
did
the
you
bills
in-
came?
yep, did you include the plowing on there? There was a lot of salting and plowing.
I
also.
didn't, but I don't think that, even if that's where it goes, I don't know
Yep.
that.
And then also the cleaning service that we have every month goes, a part of that goes into Lansingburg maintenance.
Okay, so it's both maintenance kinds of things and also repair kinds of things?
Yeah, you see Derek with $1,986. And then the Mangoyne's at $1,071.
Oh, but Ned Jones was this month.
Yeah, I think that would be the two bills for this month. Yeah, I didn't look at the account, but I mean, that's what I would think from this
Yep.
list of bills.
Right, but they wouldn't show up on the income statement until next month. So these are the February, you know, the earlier bills, the bills that
Yes.
we approved
Yeah.
last month.
Yes.
Okay,
Any other questions for Paul? All right, if we could move on. In our discussion about realigning the accounts in the last meeting, it was sometimes confusing to me, but when I came in after the meeting to sign a check, I was asking Paul about our discussion to try to gain a better understanding, because we've been at this a couple of months and we've met several times, Marie, Paul and I. And what Paul said is just the one box in the one account that we need to agree on a wording for. So I don't know if we have any additional plans to meet or how to move that forward. Marie, were you planning on getting a meeting to address that and make sure that we invite Evelyn because of the active discussions?
I wasn't, just because I think it can be difficult for some of our finance committee members to go to meetings outside the regularly scheduled ones. But perhaps we can start by asking Paul what his objections were to the wording or the restrictions. Paul, you said you had objections to or concerns about the restrictions on the operating reserve account. And I was wondering what those were.
Yeah, I originally, and I'm trying to remember the wording now because I don't know. I don't.
As I remember, there were two restrictions. One, that using money from that account required board approval. And secondly,
That's not what I have a problem with.
the second was that the cash be returned within 2 months.
that I have a problem with. Plus the fact that it specifies what the reserve can be used for. I mean, you're specifying for future boards, here's what the reserve can be used for. And I think basically it needs to be called a reserve account. And of course, it should have board approval, for expenditures. But a reserve account is a reserve account. It comes into play if it's needed, and the board decides, that the need, is great enough to go into the reserve account. So
If I remember correctly, the specification that you're referring to is that it's to be used for cash flow
Right,
problems. So,
Right.
which is what I found as the definition when I looked of a operating reserve, that's the intention. So I remember one of the comments that you made was about, well, what if money's needed to use up front for construction and then get reimbursed? Well, that would be a cash flow issue. So as well as, the other one that we always have concern about, which is the possibility that we may not get the tax revenues in time to enable us to pay our bills.
Yeah, I mean, the cash flow issue, of course, is important. The cash flow issue is generally always on my mind. And so I think that's an important reason to have a reserve fund. But I think there are other things that it can be used for. And I think that we don't really need to specify at this point, what those things are. I think those are decisions for the board and for future boards.
So you don't want to have it be an operating reserve then? Because an operating reserve by definition
I
is
would
for
call it-
cash flow issues.
Yeah, I would call it a general reserve fund.
You know what, Paul, just, we could continue. My sense of our annualized budgets and the careful monitoring of them, we need to have a reserve fund, but not for an open-ended issue. If the need for a reserve is not for cash flow, then we ought to have a discussion about it, so that it's not just a pool to pull from for any use, but the board would have better information about how the financial performances are. If there's an ability to just move freely from one source to another, without additional board information, then it sort of frustrates the idea of why I thought we were reorganizing the fund, so that it would be clearer to us how the finances are being managed. So that's, I thought, why we did all this. So I don't, that was my idea, why we did it and why it was described in the way it was. And when we met and talked, you seemed to be in agreement at that time. So I think if you would like to offer different wording for that box, then certainly we could take a look at it. But we don't want to present the accounts in that way until we have an idea what we want to, what we're recommending.
Bob,
Yes.
if I may. Paul was not the only one who had some concerns about the wording.
Yes.
So just in retrospect, one, we did approve, and I think it's part of the visual that we approved of, that
Yeah.
it needed board approval. So that was one. too, I don't think it just said cash flow issues. I think it was very, very specific. I don't have it in front of me, the actual wording. And I was looking actually for it in the finance package this, before this meeting.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the wording, and I didn't have another copy of my own. So we still have that, and it's still in times of temporary operating cash flow. But there can be scenarios in which that does not work, and it might not be just a cash flow. It might be a scenario where we have an opportunity that with board approval, we need to go forward on, and that would be the money for where we'd go. Certainly I know the repayment within 2 months without any understanding and just saying it's from income was, I think, a matter of concern too. So you're right. I do not disagree with if we want a definition to be placed in that box, but it needs to be something that is not limiting. Doesn't mean that it's an open door policy, but has some expanse to it so that we can meet as this board, forget future boards, this board alone might be faced with a situation. And if COVID taught us anything, it's that situations can arise. Opportunities, positive opportunities could arise that we need to be able to have the financial flexibility to deal with. And that definition or, that description here, I thought was personally, I thought was very limiting in that regard.
Yeah, I think, Evelyn, that I don't have any disagreement with you about things that we would need to expend money on. What my mind was, when those opportunities or challenges or whatever come up, that rather than just grabbing the money out of a reserve fund, that we bring it to the board and discuss it.
Well, of course, that
That's
was
why the language was somewhat restricted.
But if you look, this where it says source, it says, cash appropriated by the board that we approved. We only didn't approve the description. So of course it would be something that the board would meet on. I'm not saying, anyone can just go in. It's not an open, like I say, it's not an open door policy to just go and take the money. It would have to be discussed by the board. But if you limit the description, you limit the opportunities that the board can have in availing themselves of that fund if something comes up. And yes, I have spent the last, just over a month when this first came out in coming up with some of those scenarios, which I know since we're right almost at 2 minutes away from our board meeting, this is probably not the time to discuss those scenarios that had been in my head, but there are possibilities out there that could happen, and we should always, I think it's important. I learned, remember today, not to talk in absolutes. So it's always important to be as flexible as possible in how we do our descriptions even.
I think the intent is actually not to be as flexible as possible. The intent is to make sure that you have this cushion and don't draw on it for other things. Do people want to set up a separate meeting to go on and discuss it?
I think it would be worthwhile because I think the interested people in it are limited in number. And if we had a little more time, looking at the time we're about to enter the board meeting time.
Right.
So I think it would be, I don't think there's particular divergence, but I think it would be good to do, Marie. That's the way we started to address it. And then when we brought it to the board, the discussion failed to reach a vote because of we didn't agree or we weren't sure we agreed. I think we would agree. So I think we could have a separate meeting.
And how do Brianna, does that work for you? I know that your schedule is not as flexible as some of our schedules.
I appreciate that. I was about to say, to your point about that, with enough advance notice, as long as I have enough time to move around whatever clients I might have scheduled at that time, I can make it work.
Okay, shall we do a doodle poll
Sure.
to determine the next date, to see what the best date is for everybody? And is that agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. I had one more question, and Paul, how is it coming as far as setting up the other bookkeeping accounts that had been agreed upon?
I think we know, how we're going to do this, and I think everything is going to be pretty easy to track. So Joy, I don't know, Joy, you want to chime in here?
Sure. Yeah, I've been playing around with it, though I can't really do too much playing around with it without affecting, our books. So I've set it up, and I think I just have to make sure everything works before,
Right.
Before we take the plunge off. the
Yes,
cliff,
right.
So do you think by the next board meeting, it will be possible to,
I can certainly try. Yes, I'll try.
it's just that we do have an excess of the 250,000
Mm-hmm.
outside the investment account. Is the reason. Okay, thank you.
All righty. Just quickly, Paul, is the auditor on schedule and going forward pretty well?
Yes, they have started. As a matter of fact, they're going to be in the library on Thursday. Joy is ready to go. You've got all your records ready.
Yes, I've been uploading whatever they need,
Right.
and working through the list that they provided.
Okay. And I've forgotten his scheduled time. Is he thinking of giving us the audit as a board in April or the end of March?
He said end of April, and they wanted to start March 15th, but I have everything ready, so we were able to schedule earlier time to meet.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
I'd like to close the meeting and so we can proceed to the board. Anybody object to ending the finance meeting? All right, so it shall be. The meeting is ended. Thank you.
Okay. So
Marie, you're just muted. I don't know why. Do others hear Marie?
Nope,
Oh, there you go, I think.
no, she's still muted. Now she's
am I
frozen.
unmuted now?
No,
but
you're
you're
not. I heard you.
There you are.
Okay, sorry, I don't know how I got muted again. So let's begin with the public comment period. Is there any public comment? Greta?
Well, maybe, yeah, because I don't know that I'll be on at the end of the meeting. Just two announcements. The Friends are having a pop-up book event at the farmers market on March 20th and at the Make It Upstate on March 21st. Those are the two events at the Troy Public Market, the old Lansingburg supermarket. And the bookseller is going to open on March 27th.
Wonderful. Good for you.
Oh, for Passover.
Just in time.
Grand.
Thank you. And in keeping with the idea of letting people who might be viewing this later know who was on the library board meeting, could we introduce ourselves? I'm Marie Gavazzi, trustee of the board. Brianna?
Hi, I'm Brianna, also trustee of the board.
Jerry,
Jerry DeSev, trustee of the board.
Bob,
Bob Doherty, trustee and treasurer of the board.
Evelyn,
Evelyn Katz Greenstein, trustee of the board.
Michelle,
Michelle Hayward Cooper, trustee and secretary.
Paul,
Paul Hickok, director.
Joy,
Joy.
I'm back. Sorry, I disappeared.
do you want to introduce yourself?
My computer. Oh, sure. Let me just make sure it's still recording here. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Joy. You want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Joy.
Okay, and we also have Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori. I think I'm here to introduce myself to everyone. I don't know if you want me to do that now or later in the meeting or.
A little bit later in the agenda.
Okay.
A little bit later.
I'm a librarian at the library.
Thank you. And Freda?
I'm Freda Mirzan. I'm the president of the Troy Public Library.
And Grace, I see you're back.
Hi, I'm here. Grace Real, citizen.
Thank you. So we're just missing Kirsten. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's report and approval of expenditures.
Yes, we just completed a finance meeting. There'll be further work on our last discussion about the accounts, and we'll bring forward, hopefully next month, we will try. The expenses for February to be paid total $40,000, 101 and 49 cents. They were made available in the Dropbox, and we discussed them and improved them. I would make a motion to the board for board approval for the payment of our February expenses in that amount, $40,101.49.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any against? The motion carries unanimously. Bob, was there anything else?
No, before we end, I would like to just make a personal statement, but not on finance, just a general statement. No, that was it for the finance meeting. The auditors are going forward. Joy has prepared everything smoothly, and there's nothing to report yet as they dig in. And we don't really expect that there'll be a lot to report until we get our full audit. But it's a new auditor, so we'll have a little bit of a different process, I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to mention that I did notice that the investment account balance was below the amount of money we had received for our bequest at the end of last month. So we did seem to have dipped into some of our other funds.
Where did you see that, Marie?
In the reconciliations.
Let me see.
Reconciliations.
Should be 196.
It was the amount of the, but hadn't we received more than that from, how much had we received from the bequest?
That was it.
Oh, 196?
Yes,
I guess-
that was it.
Okay, great. So we were just down to that. Okay, good. So the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Oh, wait, sorry. Which, did somebody want to say something?
Michelle, I just wanted to say that I did make the the two changes that you had brought up on the notes from last time, and I just sent them over to Joy, along with the little quick notes from our special meeting that we had on the 26th. So the two changes were to indicate that Kirsten had abstained from the reopening plan vote, and to get rid of that errant sentence that said something about KH, which I think I use the same template every time, so I must have missed deleting that. So the thing that didn't make sense is gone.
Okay.
Hooray.
So does anyone want to see one of the items pulled from the consent agenda?
Well-
And Nick? Yes?
Well, not to pull, but just to remind everyone, there was a correction to the date for the annual Upper Hudson meeting. It wasn't really June 16th. It really is June 9th. So
Anything else? Is there a motion? Oh, Kirsten, you want to
Yes, ma'am.
introduce yourself? Kirsten has just joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Kirsten Lorscher is here.
Thank you.
Fran.
Thank you.
We were just discussing the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
So Brianna moved, and Jerry, were you?
I
Was
was, I didn't know if I was muted or not, so that's fine. I'll second.
Thank you.
Yes.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? Anyone against? The motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a report from Lori Burns. She's the head of collection management. Lori?
I'd like to welcome Lori Burns, who is head of our collection management department. And I've asked her to give us a rundown of what that involves.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lori and I am the only member of collection management. I've worked at the library since 2002 in a couple different departments. I started in reference, but I've been in collection management since 2013. Basically, I deal with all the new materials that the library receives. Everything we get, I put it into the catalog, including new items and donations. Most of it is copy cataloging, which means I don't really need to do a lot with each book. It's just, you know, scan the barcode in, put in the call number. Sometimes there's more involved issues, like with our Spanish collection. But I've been working 3 days a week since the summertime because we had very little work to do when we weren't ordering. And then I've been very behind since about December because of our schedule. But I just caught up this past week. I only have one cart sitting there waiting for me. It's full of Spanish books and I don't really speak Spanish, but they'll get done eventually. If anyone has any questions for me, I know people don't always understand what I do and it's hard to really explain, but I'm happy to try.
I had a question, Bob Doherty. Does the public anticipate and look forward to particular publications and communicate with you about, are they coming, have we got them?
Yes. So, well, first of all, when books, even before we've ordered a book, as long as some library has ordered it, it will appear in the catalog. So people can start putting requests on it immediately. So it might be 6 months before a book is released. There could already be a request list building up for it. People can email us or make a request through the catalog or call us if they don't see an order for it. So there's usually quite a waiting list for bestsellers. So DVDs as well.
Okay. You enjoy that part of your job, interacting with the public?
I do. I haven't worked with the public since March.
Right.
I used to do every Thursday night, I still did reference. So I would be doing 3 hours of reference every Thursday. We'd have programs every Thursday. We had Shakespeare. And I liked doing that. It's just kind of like knew what was going on with the rest of the building. And I haven't done that in a while. So it's a little disorienting. On the other, more people right now, just for safety reasons, but it is, I do enjoy it. And I like tracking down things that people don't know what they're looking for sometimes.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do you have a wish list of things that would make it easier, better for you to do your job, support you in your job?
A lot of it comes down to building space. My area, if you've ever been in the basement, right when you walk into the basement, there's a big room and that's basically my work area. But it's also right next to the bathrooms and the catacombs, as we call it. And the heating system isn't so good, so I wear a t-shirt all year long. And there's the children's department has a desk in my space, and they also have another desk in the reference office, which is next door. So it's just kind of like not the best setup. I don't mind being with other people, but it's just not really like my own office space, and has some drawbacks to that. But
I will say,
idiot things.
space-wise, you know, it's a problem because, you know, we're processing a lot of books. Books are delivered, so we have no actual place for delivery.
Yeah.
So they go upstairs in the office, they dump them off, and then
Yeah,
we
and
get downstairs in the basement. So
Right, and I try not to carry anything because I have some neck problems, which I think were caused by working at the library, but not the library, just working with a screen for so many years. And so I try not to carry any heavy boxes, and then I ask Paul to do it for me, and I feel really guilty, but I do it anyway.
I might be getting too old for this.
Oh, Paul.
Paul, it keeps you young.
Paul.
Is there a cart that's available or anything that a wheeled thing that you can use on the elevator that would make that easier?
We do have carts. For the boxes, they use a dolly. We have carts for the new books to come upstairs. The recycling, we have the paper recycling, which we have a lot of paper and cardboard we generate, and also sometimes if we withdraw books. But there's basically four giant trash cans down in the basement next to the kitchen. That's not really ideal either, but we have no other place to put them. They come once a month or so and empty them, but Paul's in charge of that.
Yeah, one thing, you know, that's made a difference, the elevator has made a tremendous difference, because we used to get boxes of books and put them on the hand truck and literally take them down the stairs, which was, I'm definitely too old for that.
Me too.
I mean, ideally, my office space would be on the first floor, so you wouldn't need to cart things that far away and then back. I know newer libraries, to work at Guilderland when I was in school, and they just have a loading dock that basically opens to the hallway next to the collection management. So
Yeah, every library in the last 50 years has a loading dock.
Speaking of collections, are the archives part of your bailiwick as well, or historic documents or historic objects?
sort of. If we receive anything new, I would put it into the catalog and before putting it in the archives. Over the summer, I did a little Troy room project just with like relabeling some of the stuff in the outer room that the public can use, because we didn't have any new books to really work on. A lot of what's back there is like a filing cabinet full of archival material that's not really index file or anything. So if I ever don't have new stuff to do with that, there are projects I could do there.
I think those are sort of resources that are unique to our holdings, perhaps, that the public may not even be aware that we have. It'd be great to be able to have a better understanding of that.
A lot of that is in the catalog, but not everything.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Lori, what criteria do you use for weeding books?
I don't generally do it myself, but I have generated lists for people. It really varies a lot based on the collection. Like for example, our large print collection has very little space, so we wouldn't keep a book as long necessarily as we might keep it in fiction. I can't say like if it's a bestseller, if it hasn't gone out for 5 or 10 years, we might get rid of it. Something that's not historically significant. I mean, but there's no across the board get rid of this at this time. If they're in poor condition, we will withdraw things. If it's still in demand, we'll get a new one, or if we have one of the few copies, we'll try to get a new one. I know for adding donations, one of the criteria I would use sometimes would be if another library has it and it's gone out in the past 5 years, we can keep it because probably someone would want to read it at our library for donations. But yeah, nothing, there's no, because of the way the collections are, everything's very different for how long we'll keep things. Like once I went through and we did the gardening books, probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I kept the books that had color pictures. So it depends.
I see that Evelyn has her hand up.
Nope. Actually, I don't.
She's had her hand up the whole time, that little hand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that. No, that was from before. I'm sorry.
I have a quick. Lori, when you talked about space, I'm wondering from our building report, is that something that's going to be planned into our the building?
I believe so. The plan that we had several years ago had a separate office for me. The only thing I didn't like about that was it was pretty much me alone in the basement. And I think maybe Paul was down there too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't, because my job is just me, and I don't always work with the public that much. I do like to have other people around. I don't want to be completely by myself all day. So,
yeah. But that's something that possibly is going to be part of the new overall design that
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I think the initial plan we had before was the reference offices would be moved upstairs to be near the reference desk, and then I would stay down in the basement.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we could get you some cute little talking mice or something to keep.
No. We've had some mice. Don't need any more of those.
Now, Evelyn did have a real hand up just now.
Now I do. But the people who are coming in now to look at the building and the space, they may be coming up with a whole different presentation possibilities. That was just one thing from the first architectural firm. So maybe something else will come up this time. And these are all just potentials. Nothing's in stone. Or marble.
I mean, is that something we should, ask them to plan? Look at what that need is and around what the need is and what the desire is, and ask them to specifically look at that.
Are you asking Lori or
I'm
Terry?
asking whoever. I'm asking the board because.
I mean, I assume that it would be last time they took each department and said, here's what this department would have as a working space. So I figured it would be included this time as well.
They are supposed to speak with staff and board members about what they see as the need. Kirsten has his hand up. You're muted, Kirsten.
Sorry, thank you. If I may jump in on this topic, the intent is that the historic buildings report will include a assessment of the entire organization of the library and how the entire organization of the library works in the building. So this, of course, is a very important piece of that, and I would hope would be addressed, would be included as part of the assessment and maybe identify some options or solutions as part of that.
And Bob has a hand up also. Is that intentional, Bob?
Yeah, I just want to say, Laura, it's a pleasure to meet you. And each time we have the opportunity as a board, I'm always impressed with the commitment to your job and doing it well. And it's just very, very nice to meet you, and I commend you. Happy to know a little more about you. Thank you.
Any other questions for Lori? I guess not, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to
Coming.
meet you. I haven't
Thank you
met
very
before.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the annual report.
Yes. I posted the annual report in the Dropbox. It does contain comparative information. It has information from this year for 2020 and also comparing that with 2019. As you may expect, the statistics are very different for 2020. The library, of course, was completely closed for almost 3 months. And then, of course, that's followed by a fairly slow opening. So you can see like library visits down by 58%. Adult programs sessions were down by 61%. Now we still had program sessions, but they were all virtual. They were all online. We had no programs in the building. And attendance on adult programs were down about 50%. Children's program sessions were certainly less than last year by about 52%. And attendance for children's programs was down about 54%. Total circulation, as you might expect, was also down about 45%. Physical items were down almost 63%, but the circulation actually increased on ebooks and that sort of thing. So that was up about 27%. Additions to the collections were down because we did have a freeze on purchasing for several months. Additions to the materials, the electronic materials did increase, however, because when the pandemic hit, we knew that we were going to have to purchase, more electronic materials. So that's really what you'll see in the annual report. They do have a whole section on the pandemic, which with new questions this year that we answered. I don't know if you've taken a look and if you have questions on it. I know Lori had a question that the spelling of Lansingburg was incorrect, which is true. It wasn't my fault because that was supplied, some of the information supplied in the annual report, and I didn't notice that it was spelled wrong. So I'm gonna have to see if I can catch that before they do it again next year.
Now, Brianna?
I just had a question, but if you had something else to say,
No, go ahead.
go for it. I am looking on page 33 and 34 about trustee education. And I'm just a little bit confused. Has trustee participated in trustee education last calendar year? It says yes for me, which is accurate. But then when you go down to page 34, 4, the same question is asked again of me, has trustee participated in trustee education last calendar year? And then it says no. Seems like it's the same question twice with 2 different answers.
Wait a minute, now, I have to. ooh.
And I believe the same thing is true for
Trustee
Jerry.
presentation. Okay, but then there's.
I found the same thing. I think maybe there are 12, a listing of 12 rather than the 7 trustees. Or at least I had difficulty figuring out what the difference was. It did seem to be repeated as far as the same question.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Do you want to take a look at that later, Paul?
I'm sorry. I know that there was a reason because when I was filling it out, I ran into the same thing, but now I can't remember what the reason was. Because it had to do with the years, but the years look the same. Anyway, I will look into that.
Okay, thanks.
And find out what the heck happened. That was it was a little tricky on trustee education thing, as you know, you got the
Yeah.
you know, and I tried to be as accurate as possible. But yeah, that's weird. There's a reason for it. I know there's a reason.
Okay, thanks.
I was noticing that for young people, summer attendance, there seemed to be 0. We had a summer program for young adults, but no one attended. Is that correct? I guess that particular program wasn't successful.
I think there's no program, no YA program, summer reading. And so there was no program and no attendance. In other words,
Okay.
yeah. Because otherwise I can't fill that out because then it comes out as a, if you put down there was a program and then 0 attendance, no, it doesn't work. They won't let you do that.
Is this something we need to approve?
It's something, yes, technically the board should approve the annual report. There's a concern that the board is familiar with it and it's been in the Dropbox. Everybody's seen it. So yeah, we need to recognize that.
So we need to have a motion to the effect that we've seen it or that we approve it.
I think the best motion is just to say that the board approves it.
Are people comfortable doing that? Has everybody had a chance to look it over and are you comfortable with what's stated?
Do we need to add in the motion that, with the caveats about what Brianna brought up, or, I mean?
I wouldn't be comfortable approving it if like without that caveat at this point.
I agree.
We will probably receive additional questions and problems with it. We do usually do.
I'd be comfortable acknowledging receipt of it and having seen it, but to approve it, I think it'd be premature without having some sort of amendment offered to address those comments made.
When does it have to be submitted, Paul?
It's already submitted.
Oh, it is submitted.
Yeah, it's the way it's the way the deadlines work. Unfortunately, they don't correspond well with our board meetings.
So then there would be no harm in our seeing the corrected version, right? Waiting for that if it's already been submitted.
What we could do is we could give the corrections or the changes to Jonna, who works at UHLS, and she usually is able to update everything before she submits it to the state.
Yeah, I can't actually access the report anymore.
Right, we can't make the changes, but she can make the changes for us.
Which there usually is. She may have other questions. I don't know if she's reviewed ours yet or not.
Right. Her deadline's usually pretty tight because she wants to review all of the libraries before she submits everything.
Right.
Okay, well.
Was
so
it just that one section of the trustee education part?
Yeah, like I said, I'd have to figure something out because I'd have to go back and look at the instructions on that.
Right.
Something, I know what happened, but I can't remember.
Is it because of the year? I mean, the training was in 2020 and we're now in 21. Does that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, there's something about the years and I can't remember. It looks from the report like they're the same year, but I don't know. I gotta check it.
So, I mean, there are a couple of different things. One we could do as we sometimes do with the minutes, where we say we accept them as corrected, or we approve them as corrected, or we can wait and see the corrected version and then have a motion on it at the next meeting. There doesn't seem to be an issue with the time since it's already been submitted.
Yeah.
If people would prefer to wait and see the corrected version before acting on a motion.
I think it makes sense to wait because if there's something, if as Paul is saying, there's some like, it's some weird timing thing. Like, I mean, Brianna and Jerry weren't there in 2019. So if it's saying that they didn't have anything in 2019 and they did in 2020, then that would make sense, but maybe it's just labeled wrong. So it may not be even something that we need to correct, but so if Paul can get clarification on that and either make a correction if it needs to be to make it clear, somehow make it clear that what it's saying, then it makes sense to wait until we have that information. I mean,
there's another thought to this. Will we actually see the corrected version? Because Paul can't get into the document anymore. So John is the only one who could. And will she be able to cut and paste it and send it back to us with that corrected version so we can look at it?
She should be able to. I'll double check.
And Paul can at least tell us what the clarification of that is. I mean, it could be a formatting issue too, because he's printing something out that's from software that isn't really designed for that. So, it's hard to know at this point what.
Yeah, they can, they can make the correction there, and I can let you know.
Okay. The next item is the controller's report.
Joy.
Yes, that's just the report that we send every year that the comptroller, we usually have to have an extension, but they extended it to April 1st, which is great. So we're able to get everything done on time.
I found it very confusing.
Yes.
Some things seem to reference, is it for 2019 or is it for 2020?
It's for 2020. And like I said before, I had, we've been submitting it for the past 10 years. And I had the comptroller representative sit with me and explain everything that we're supposed to fill out. So this is just what they have told me to do. And that's the report.
But it says 2019 throughout.
It should
was
be
what-
2020.
And there was one I only saw 2 pages that referenced 2009, 2020.
I can upload, I thought for sure
Even
it
the
was,
title page says 2019.
oh, I'll double check that and make sure to upload the other one. For some reason, it should be 2020.
Uh,
I will upload that again if it's the wrong one.
So again, the same question, do we need to approve this, the controller's report?
Oh, you're right. It is the last year. I uploaded the wrong report. I will put the right one in there. It just needs to be approved by Bob.
Okay,
By when?
It's due April 1st.
okay, so you'll get the right one to us?
Yes, I can try
Really
to
to
do
Bob?
that. Yes, I will try to do that by the end of the evening.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along.
Thank you very much.
Troy, when you get that to us, will it be in the Dropbox for us to come in and get, or will you actually send it to us individually?
I can do both.
Pardon?
I'll do both.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
And if we have comments, they get returned to Bob or Paul or
Oh,
both?
just let me know, and then if there's anything I need to update, I
Right,
can
lexicon is what,
update the form.
Okay. Anything else on the controller's report? Okay, the next item is the Gilded Age.
The Gilded Age, yeah. I was contacted a couple times by Michael Connors from Heyday Productions, which is doing the Gilded Age program. That they're planning to film in Troy, and they're planning on filming on 2nd Street on June 10th. And they do want to use the exterior of the library building, which in the Gilded Age won't be a library, it'll be a club of some sort. But anyway, they want to use the exterior, and what that means is they will need to do some minor altering. They'll have to remove the drop box and the bicycle stuff, and also the 2 big announcement bulletin boards on the front of the building. And then once filming is over, they'll have to restore everything back to the way it was. Generally, these companies always do a pretty good job and actually do better in restoring it than it wasn't, in the first place. But there will be a contract. I didn't get the final contract from Michael yet. But they have offered to pay the library $3,000 for the use of the exterior shots and that sort of thing. And then, of course, restore everything back to the way it was. During this particular day, it will be a little bit different to stay open, but I think it can be done. People could use the side door, the Ferry Street door, as an entrance, and we could provide limited service even on that day. It will take them about 3 to 4 days to do everything that they need to do, but the actual filming was only going to take them one day. So when they're taking things down and putting them back together on the other days, that will not interfere with being open and the normal service hours that we have. During the 10th, on the 10th, 2nd Street will be closed off. They actually put down like some kind of weird cobblestone things. So that, there won't be any traffic at all anywhere near Second Street on that day. So that affects us. I mean, that will definitely reduce the kind of services that we can provide, even if we attempt to stay open a bit.
Paul, have you talked over with them whether you can have traffic in and out, or would that be in their way? Because they're, would they feel like it would be in the way to have people coming in the side door? Have you discussed it with them? Is that
They didn't say that. Yeah, they said that's possible to stay open like that. They don't have a problem with people as long as they're not in the frame.
right?
So, yeah, that's basically the answer I got on that.
Okay, I just didn't know. I didn't know whether that was something that
Yeah.
I assumed you had discussed it with them, but yeah, because I know people get very picky about their space when they're filming. Of anybody who's anywhere near.
Well, they sounded pretty flexible at this point.
Good.
I wasn't too worried about it.
You know from where to where Second Street will be shut off?
Oh boy, no, but I mean, I would expect all the way down to Washington Park.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I would think everything else all the way through downtown will be closed. I mean, on that street. I mean, there just be no traffic.
Yeah.
You probably can't enter it from State Street or Magdalen. I don't know what they're gonna do about, traffic on Route 2. Going through. But it's gonna be fairly inaccessible, the street itself. But again, it should only be one day.
Yeah.
Everything else they do, they can do around it.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So the building committee had a recommendation.
Yes, they did.
Did we lose Kirsten?
I'm still here.
Okay. Did you want to speak to the building committee's recommendation?
I'm sorry, I've got nothing to add to it at this time. And I don't have the hard copy of the recommendation in front of me. I apologize.
I think that the building committee had made a motion to recommend to the board that to go along with the Gilded Age request.
Yes, we did discuss it as a committee, and we did have that recommendation that we would support it as a committee.
Particularly if the library doesn't have to be closed. Because there really is no other place for certain business functions to occur, such as printing and faxing in downtown. So, Paul, do you need a motion to approve the contract, to approve signing the contract? What kind of motion do you need from us?
Yeah, I think we should have a motion to approve going ahead with Heyday Productions and cooperating, and we will. I mean, with the idea that we will have an actual contract. Yes.
So does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow the library to move forward, to enter into a contract with the production company for this film, and that the library remain open during the filming.
Is there a second?
I'd second.
Bob seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any against? The motion carries unanimously. Paul, the next item on the agenda is the director's report.
Yeah, okay, I covered the annual report, the pandemic update. We got an update today. And that update is that library staff is going to be included in the next round of vaccinations. Um, the um, the requirement is government agencies and nonprofit agencies, which would include libraries. And the start date for that is March 17th. And our staff is ecstatic at this point. People are happy that we're finally included in this whole thing. Because, you know, we have been working on the front lines for quite some time. So that came out today. We're trying to get some more detail. Nyla definitely came out to say that, you know, all library workers definitely qualify. So we're going ahead with it.
Great.
We have reduced the quarantine period again. We started out at 96 hours, then we went to 72 hours. The Directors Association had recommended going back to 48 hours of quarantine for books, which will speed up, I think, filling requests. And right now, I'm working with department heads on adding some hours back, adding Monday back to the main library and adding about 12 hours to the Lansingburg schedule, but keeping the same days that they're now open. Excuse me. And that we're looking for April 1st to begin that. I had talked to Messick, Cohen, and Wilson and Baker about moving the evaluation of the mechanical systems forward in their historic structures report, so that we can get some ideas about what we're up against in terms of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems that the building needs going forward. So Kurt from Quantum Engineering was in the building today along with Larry. And, we had quite a long discussion on what kinds of information we need in order to go forward. And so we will be working on that in the next few weeks. In addition, now we have been able to replace one of the library assistant positions with a part-time person, and she'll be starting on May 11th. I think that's all I got.
Do we need to go through the approval process of the hire?
What's that?
Do we need to go, don't we need to go through the approval process for the new hire?
Yes.
Okay.
Is she related to anybody at the library?
Approval? No, not to worry. Yeah, the approval process. Yes, you should approve all hires.
Do we have a motion to approve the new hire as described in? Are you seconding? You are making the motion, Evelyn, or do you have a question?
Nope, making the motion.
Is there a second?
Second, I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstaining? Against? Did someone say they were against? I heard something I didn't. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Do we have a contract with MESIC yet?
Yes and no. I mean, they have the contract and Kirsten had reviewed it and now it's at the attorney's office. And there's been a back and forth between Messick and the attorney's office and ironing out some of the wording and I believe we'll have one soon.
Okay, just checking. It's in process. I also wanted to explain that the reason that Paul had requested the evaluation of the needs for HVAC at the library is because of the potential that we'd heard about during Advocacy Day, that there could be stimulus money that might be available to help with projects such as that. So we were trying to be proactive and have something in the pipeline should the opportunity arise. And this was also discussed in the building committee, but not all of you were there.
Thank
There
you.
was an advocacy program today through NILA, and the advocacy person from ALA spoke and was talking about and I know I'm not going to get the correct wording, but it's like Build America Libraries Act, whether or not it's truly considered part of the stimulus package or just a side bet. It hasn't been done since the 1990s. So they're looking at putting, a few billion maybe into libraries. It hasn't been quite passed yet. It is expected to be signed when passed. But again, it's filtering process from the federal, the federal government down to the state government through the library systems, the setup already that our library in New York State already has set up. So it's not happening tomorrow, but
Thank you for the update.
Any other comments or questions on the director's report? The next item on the agenda is the observations and community feedback. Does anyone have anything on this topic? Okay, apparently not. Next is old business, new business. Is there any? Bob?
Yes, I just wanted to let people know I have a diagnosis of gastric lymphoma. So for the past month, I've been very busy with many varied medical procedures. And I will likely have 6 sessions of chemotherapy, one time every 3 weeks, which would extend into July, depending on the outcome of all of these procedures. I have yet to have a bone marrow, but I've had many, many other procedures. So Thursday, the oncologist service I've signed up with has a 1-hour education about what to expect in the treatment. But I may be somewhat incapacitated and not able to fulfill duties depending on what I learn on Thursdays. On Thursday, but I'm really in quite a struggle. Now it happens that the lymphoma, my gastroenterologist was somewhat delighted that I had it because he said the treatment outcomes are much better. So I think the treatment outcome is about 2/3 successful, but it will be my focus going forward, and I'll need to give it my all. So I'll know better after Thursday as to what limitations I would have and I'm not sure what to do. I've had a discussion with Marie. I said, I don't know if I take a leave of absence or a resignation, but when I find out more, I'll continue the conversation with Marie. But I just wanted to give everybody an appreciation of what I'm up against, and we'll see. Very likely, the chemotherapy, I hope, will start after the 17th of March at some point, and it'll be one session every 3 weeks. But its impact on me may be quite limiting. I'll find out. I don't yet know all of those facts, so just want to let you know, and I'm gearing up for an energized cooperation with the medical field as we try to conquer this problem.
Paul, I'm terribly sorry to hear this news. I wish you all the best with this process and anything we can do to help.
Yeah, thank you very much. At least the outcome estimates are on a very positive side. 2 out of 3 actually get cured, and so I am hopeful.
That's good. Good. We'll keep you in our prayers and our good, we'll send you good karma and good wishes and everything else. Everything else.
The same, Bob. Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope all resolves itself smoothly and well.
Right.
I second what everyone has said, and we will all be thinking of you.
Right. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the update, Bob. We certainly hope that you'll be able to continue with us, continue contributing in all the ways that you do.
Yeah.
And certainly want to express that we understand your need to make this your full focus here and really and really give it your all. So you keep us posted on what you would like to do and how we can support you in this effort.
I said thank you, everybody. Sorry, I was muted. All right.
Again, Evelyn, my understanding is we're still supposed to be reviewing the reopening plan
Correct.
in every session. I know Paul kind of went over the changes that he's pursuing.
Yes. And there's nothing that's contrary to anything that's out there now. There's some new writings, by the way, from the Realm Project, but I think the system is certainly reacting to all those and getting away from longer quarantines of material.
Okay, so there's nothing further we need to do at the moment.
I think this acknowledges the fact that we're looking at this, heard what Paul had to say, and there's no set changes rather to the written policy. Okay. When there is, then we can discuss that and then approve that.
Well, it was certainly good news to hear that we're expecting to expand the open hours. Anything else before we move on old business, new business? Okay, the next agenda item is public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Freda?
How do you manage to have petunias behind you, Marie?
I'm not always successful. I never know when they're going to be there and when they're not. It's actually a photo of a petunia, a rogue petunia over near Barden Baker across the street by Echo Kids from last summer.
It's a very cheery background.
Isn't it? Now, it almost looks like they're going up a wall rather than crawling along the sidewalk. I know that we're getting out earlier than usual. I don't know whether everybody's heard that McGaddy's is having a fundraiser for the victims of the fire that occurred at Hill Stationery. So that's going on tonight until 9 o'clock if anyone wants to participate in that.
And also Bard and Baker is collecting for victims of the fire as well. They're collecting items, but also cash and credit cards and things like that. Gift cards.
There are a number of fundraising GoFundMe's and things like that that are going on. Okay, if nobody has anything else, then we're ready to adjourn. The date and time of the next meeting is April 13th at the usual 5 o'clock for Finance Committee and 5:30 for the board meeting. And thank you all for attending and contributing tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marie.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night, Bob.
All the best.
Everybody.